Hello and welcome to Business as Usual. Today I got my long-time friend Amy Pessia with us from the Merrimack Valley Food Bank. Going to talk a little bit about the food bank and some of the upcoming events. Good afternoon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me.
So big year, 25th anniversary this year.
Yes, we at the Merrimack Valley Food Bank never thought that we would be here 25 years later, nor did we ever think that we'd be feeding 70,000 people a month. And here we are serving over 45 communities, including right here in Dracut.
Yep.
And we get so much support, and that's why we're able to continue feeding so many people, and we've been around for so long.
So Amy, today we just want to talk a little bit about food bank, food pantries, because as you know, everyone uses the terms interchangeably. So can you explain what the food bank's role is with helping all those agencies?
Yes, I'll use an analogy that one of our board members started, and now we're really maximizing on it. Consider the food bank the Federal Reserve.
I was going to use the same example, actually. It's kind of funny. I didn't know people knew what that was, though.
The food pantries, like the Dracut Food Pantry, St. Marguerite DeVille Food Pantry, are the ATMs, and that's where people can withdraw the food.
Yep.
We collect donations from companies like Stonyfield Yogurt, Weetabix Cereal, and then food drives that people conduct in academic partners, business community partners, faith-based, so churches, synagogues, temples, all conduct food drives on our behalf. And last fiscal year, that total pounds of food was over 3.1 million pounds.
It's amazing. It really is. But, so like I said, I like that analogy because a lot of times people, use the interchangeably, or they think, like, for instance, at the food bank, only the clients, meaning us food pantries and agencies, come there. So someone just doesn't come to the Merrimack Valley Food Bank to get food. Exactly.
We serve food pantries, shelters, meal programs, and school programs, including 68 Hours of Hunger that is operating right here in Dracut. And we also operate programs that target vulnerable populations specifically. And our Operation Nourish program is similar to 68 Hours of Hunger, and we distribute food at now 14 Lowell Public Schools and Middlesex Community College.
So explain that program a little bit more, because honestly, it's one of my favorites.
We started it back in 2011, and the premise is that when kids aren't in school getting the free and/or reduced lunch, they need nutrition when they're at home. And we invite social workers, educators, administrators in Lowell Public Schools to identify which children they feel could benefit from this food to take home over the weekend. It's 2 days worth of breakfast, lunches, snacks, and we also include a jar of pasta sauce and a pound of pasta, so the family can put it toward a meal. And we feel confident that it's really made a difference in the lives of children and in the educators' overall atmosphere, because there are so many signs and impacts that are a result of poor nutrition.
So now, how does it get to the students kind of discreetly? How do they do it?
Each of the schools has their own system to distribute it, and one school that we work with, for example, all of the food is, we just brought it today, for example, because school isn't in tomorrow, being Good Friday. And this particular principal over the loudspeaker says, okay, Mr. Smith's Friday friends, come down to my office, and he'll call them by grade. And then the children and the bags that we use are all donated from local partners. So banks, credit unions, large Fortune 500 companies in Westford that we partner with. And that helps us keep the cost down for operating the program.
That's kind of cool. All right, so where does 3.1 million pounds of food come from? Because obviously you have some big partners.
Yes, I mentioned Stonyfield, I
Yeah.
mentioned Weetabix. Hans Kissel is a company that donates to us regularly. They're in Wilmington.
So like at the food pantry, we get a lot of peanut butter.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
I'm glad you brought that up. We have a partnership with the state of Massachusetts
Yep.
to provide food to food pantries, shelters, and meal programs. And that we call MEFAP. It
Yep.
stands for Massachusetts Emergency Food Assistance Program. And thanks to the legislature and Colleen Gary, for example, we've been able to get funding for that program so that we can purchase things
huge.
like peanut butter, canned tuna
Yep.
and chicken, frozen proteins, ground beef, ground
Yep.
turkey, and then there's also an agricultural component. So we purchase, right now, only potatoes and squash are really what we can
Right.
get
Yep.
from a grower that's out in Western Mass. They grow indoors in a greenhouse, but we can purchase from Farmer Dave and other
Yep.
local farmers in season. And it really not only stimulates the economy and provides jobs for people that work on those farms, but we purchase a lot of that food from Massachusetts companies.
And like you said, it's one thing that you guys, unfortunately don't get to see is the delivery piece, because okay, 3.1 million pounds went on the trucks out to, the various agencies. But when you're in the agency, and hoping, like here in Drake, we feed anywhere from 70 to 130 families a month. And at the end of the day, you're looking going, oh my God, where are we going to have enough food for next month? But it's through partnerships with you guys that we know, okay, the peanut butter, the canned tuna, the canned chicken, that's going to be there. If we had to go out and buy all of that, I mean, even with your assistance, we still spend maybe $800 a month on the extra stuff that we need. But without that, I mean, it'd be 2 or 3 times that cost and stuff. So, sometimes, I'm not sure you guys see really the impact it has. Because for most of us, like the Drake Food Pantry, it'd be a big burden if we had to do that ourselves. So, like you said, it is important. And, and the message that we're always trying to get out is it's really, as I always say, it's a can by can battle. I've had people going, hey, I have a bag. I know it's not much, but, especially this first few months when we were open, when we were down to 2 cans of soup left, the guy that gave me 3 cans kept us in business that day. But people think, oh, if I can't give you, 100 cans or cases, and I'm like, you just don't understand the battle. I mean, because here we are coming, into the summer months. I know we see it at the food pantry because, as you mentioned, the children are not in school. We get another rush of people. We get a rush, around Christmas with heating bills and Christmas bills. But then we also get a different rush with, families come the summertime. So it's important to have programs like that to be there for us.
It is, and we feel so honored to be able to be good stewards of the food and the funds that we get. And it's our mission to really support pantries and volunteers like you who want to help our neighbors. And I also like to point out that it could happen to somebody we know potentially.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's husband was diagnosed with cancer. Fortunately, he's received a good bill of health after getting treatment, and but leading up to that, he had to get dental work done before he received the treatment. A lot of it wasn't covered by insurance, and then when the medical bills started coming in, fortunately, a group of us who are friends with this couple took turns making a meal. It was a one meal a week thing, but at least it helped sustain them. They have 2 children, and if they didn't have that support system,
Absolutely.
It could be pretty devastating because, unfortunately, he was able to work through his treatment, but that's not always the case. So imagine, and it's hard to imagine, but some people watching have probably lived through it. An illness, an accident, or injury can slash the household budget, but all of those financial obligations remain. You need to pay your rent or mortgage, and that's what people usually put first.
Right.
They usually put their
It's like
utilities
the roof over the head.
second, and food is put at the bottom of the list because,
Absolutely.
and especially if you have children, it's just a heartbreaking choice to have to make to buy food or pay your heating bill.
But sadly, I think that's one of the reasons why talking for the food pantry, it does well, because everyone knows someone's been impacted. You know, I think in the past there might have been an image of, well, you know, geez, you know, the person could maybe do a little more to help themselves, be as politically correct as we can be. But now, you know, unfortunately, we've been there 8 years, and I was like, you know, will it keep going? Yeah, it's 7 or 8 years now, yeah. And I'm like, but every month the donations keep coming in, and I think it's because of what you just said. People know somebody. You know, there was a husband and wife that came to the pantry. Unfortunately, the husband passed away. You know, younger couple, and he comes up to me. He goes, "I don't understand what I'm doing here." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "My wife and I, we both had great jobs. She got laid off." Like, it's okay, you know, I'm still working. Next month I got laid off. We went from making a lot of money to making nothing overnight. And my favorite quote was, "The line between giver and receiver is razor thin." It's not, there isn't even a line anymore. We have people coming to the pantry to volunteer, and then they're in line to get food a couple months later, and then they land back on their feet, they're back volunteering. Or it's really humbling to see people show up with a donation. And I'm like, I kind of recognize her. She's like, 6 months ago I was here getting food. Here's your food back with some interest, you know? So you see stuff like that, and it really kind of, you know, restores your faith and stuff, you know, where, you know, unfortunately there's a lot of people that, you know, that need that help. And, you know, luckily we can provide a program to help them and stuff. So we've got a food drive coming up. Let's talk about that. That's always exciting.
Yes, we have our annual spring pantry raid, we call it, which is a really easy way for people to give food donations. And we engage volunteers. A lot of them are friends of mine from when I attended Drake at High School, and now they have children who are old enough to volunteer. And we distribute empty paper bags to residents in select neighborhoods. It could be that a friend of mine lives in a certain neighborhood, and she'll say, "I'll do these streets." And the bags are distributed between April 9th and 14th this year. And on the 16th, those bags will be picked up. And if anybody watching receives a bag, we ask that you consider putting in either canned soup, pasta, rice, mac and cheese, anything non-perishable.
Non-perishable is the word we're looking for.
Yes, we don't want frozen Swedish meatballs.
Right,
and the reason for that is we usually collect, ideally, about 20,000 pounds of food in this food drive, because we don't only do it in Drake, we do it in Pawtucketville and Lowell, and in Belvedere and Lowell. And some companies will say, you know, we can't spare any people during the work week to do this, so we'll do our own food drive here. So all of that food gets brought back to our warehouse, and sometimes if we get that 20,000 pounds, it can take a couple of months for us to go through it, inspect it, sort it, put it on shelves where pantries like the Drake Food Pantry and others can come access that assorted, non-perishable food.
So we basically just ask people to make donations, obviously, but if you don't mind, take a minute to check the expiration date. You know, just to try to help out, you know, because, you know, there's times when people mean well. You know, it's kind of the running joke with Cheryl and myself. She'll buy me some vegetables that I won't eat, and then the food drive comes. She goes, "Well, I might as well give them to the food bank, you know, so they can give them someone who actually wants them." But, you know, are people just meaning well? Maybe you've had a death in your family, or someone's gone to assisted living, and you're going in to Grammy's closets and saying, "Okay, let's take out the canned goods." But if you don't mind, respectfully, just take a moment, look at the date, make sure it's still in date.
Yes.
Just helps out the process a little bit.
I'm glad you brought that up, and we appreciate every donation we get. And fortunately, we have volunteers to inspect and sort the food, but it is a lot easier, especially donating to the food pantry. We have probably more resources to go through all of those donations than the smaller.
But like you said, the quicker you can go through it, the quicker we can get out to people who need it and stuff. So,
absolutely.
And the other thing, just as someone who's done it, respectfully, put the bags in plain sight, okay, guys? You know, so that's just something we've learned. You know, put it where they can come and get it. But I like your approach, Joe, because I think, you know, having people who live in the neighborhood helps. Because it's not, hey, the nice lady down the street or someone was driving around passing with the bags. You know, Amy, who lives across the street from me, is helping the Merrimack Valley Food Bank, help the Drake Food Pantry and other food pantries. So I know when I've done it in neighborhoods where I'm known, donations are higher, to be honest.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
You know, so try to, you know, now, is there a chance for more people to get involved?
Absolutely. If people visit our website, that's a great place to see volunteer opportunities, including this one. And this is the most flexible opportunity we have, because we're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 for volunteers. Sometimes we'll stay a little later. So in some cases, people can come during those hours, but if people work and go to school and do
But if
sports
someone wants
and
to pass out
activities,
some bags?
then that's a great opportunity. And our website is mvfb.org, or people can call 978-454-7272 and ask for me, Amy, or Debbie Callery, who is another Drakeid girl. And she's mapping out the routes right now, probably as we speak. She's got the maps, and she's highlighting the streets that people will distribute these bags. And we have the bags, the flyers attached to them, and we'll provide the map as well.
This is, to me, is one of the easiest way to get some community service time in for those watching that need to see a time for a school. And it's easy, you know, like I said, you go, you get the bags, you walk up and down your neighborhood, you pass it out. On Saturday, you go back, you know, you'll need a car on Saturday.
Yes, you do need a vehicle.
Pick up the bags and bring them to the drop-off spot. You know, it's one of the easiest volunteer opportunities there is, and it's fun. Because you put out the bags, and you're driving down the street and you just see a bunch of bags. It's like, wow, look how many people are helping. And it's, like I said, it's a great way, because you don't have to donate a lot. You know, you can donate as much as you want, obviously, but that's really where, you know, hey, just an additional bag really makes a difference and stuff. It's when you add up those bags, and you just told me 20,000 pounds, well, that bag really did make a big difference. So that's what's powerful about that. Again, what's the dates on that one?
The bags will be distributed from April 9th through the 14th. So that's the Saturday, April 9th, through the Thursday before the pickup, which is on April 16th. And usually we ask people to go out after 9:30 and to the streets where they handed out the bags. And if people are able to do one or the other, we'll also accept individuals or groups of volunteers. If you can only hand out the bags, we can, in most cases, find somebody to pick up. And then vice versa. And we have a pizza party back at the food bank on the 16th at around 11:30. And then people can see how collectively, even maybe their route only produced 4 bags of food. When they come back to the food bank, they'll see the bins full, and each bin probably has 500 or 600 pounds of food in it with all the bags.
It's kind of amazing. So let's talk about some of the other programs that the food bank does, because you guys have a lot of programs out in the community, especially helping some in the neighborhoods that maybe need a little bit more of assistance. The everyday person really doesn't know about. So let's talk about some of them.
We have a mobile pantry program that serves individuals who are homebound. Most of them are seniors, and some are disabled, people around our age, and they just can't get to a food pantry. A couple that my daughter and I had been delivering to since they came on the program for probably 6 months. I wanted to find out their story, because we don't often get to see the people that are enjoying all the food.
As I mentioned,
3.1 million
you don't get
pounds.
to see that.
And the husband worked at Raytheon for years, supported the family doing that. They have grown kids that live in Nashua and not too close by. Both were on oxygen, and once a month, Sophia and I would bring them, it's about 30 meals worth of food. And that's because if you look at the serving size on a can of soup, it's 2 servings, depending on what people eat. But these folks were so grateful for this food, and it really helped them to be able to pay their rent, because they were getting food. It helped them take their medication properly, because if you're on high blood pressure medication, you have to take it with food. And they're just able to maintain good health because of this once-a-month delivery. We do that in Greater Lowell, so there are folks right here in Drakeid that get that service. Billerica, Tewksbury, and it's also a socialization. It's the same volunteer that delivers the food every month. So this couple was my couple. Now I just deliver to the wife, because the husband passed away at the beginning of March, sadly. And it's a way for her to get some socialization too,
Right.
and the other people that may
Yeah.
not
And so for
see
this
people.
program, you have to be homebound, not have the ability to go to a food pantry, right?
Right,
Yep.
that's the criteria, and to be low income.
Yeah.
And we have over 300 individuals that are served by that program every month.
That's an amazing program and stuff. But like you said, it gives them a chance to have, someone visiting and stuff. It's interesting because in my job as chairman of the pantry, I kind of check people in and control the flow. And after 8 years, I'm friends with those people. Where if I miss a month because, it's my anniversary or whatever, I just can't be there,
Right.
I come back in like, where were you? You okay? You weren't here. Everything's good, But over time, because you're seeing them month in and month out, you start to learn their stories. It's interesting, I'll be out in the community and, they'll stop me and start talking, and because of that relationship, which is why I do it, to be honest. So it is kind of neat and stuff. But so after that, let's talk about some of the summer programs. 'Cause I'm a big fan of the summer
We
programs
have
too.
a summer feeding program.
Yep.
So I talked about the Operation Nourish program that runs during the school year. When the kids are out of school in the summer, we partner with groups like the Lowell Parks and Rec,
Yep.
the YWCA in Lowell. Lowell Housing Authority has a couple of properties where they run summer programming. And this past summer, we actually served children of homeless families living in Bedford
Wow.
at a hotel. And we prepare the lunches at the Lowell High School cafeteria.
Yep.
And they're picked up by the counselors, for
Yep,
example, at the
sure.
Parks and Rec, or the site supervisors,
Yep.
we call them. They bring the lunches to the children that are participating.
Mm.
They all follow the USDA food
Right, yep.
component guidelines, and it helps to provide that nutritious meal during the day,
Yep.
which could be either the only meal they get that day or
Sadly.
the most nutritious
yeah,
they get
yep.
that day.
But that's just a great program, and it's a great partnership with the Parks and Recreation because, they're there, for the Parks and Recs, and they're building that relationship with the children. But it's also a great draw for their program, too. So, okay, hey, it's lunchtime, I know I can go over there and, get a meal and stuff. So, when you first told me about that program years ago, I'm like, I really like that program. Because we forget about that, hey, when they're in school, they're getting, one, maybe 2 meals a day. And now they're home, and it's like, okay, they're not getting that nourishment they need and stuff. So, programs like that are really important.
It is, and we're all about identifying where gaps may exist
Yep.
and trying to fill them in. And if it doesn't make sense for us to fill them in,
Sure.
we'll ask a partner agency.
Yep.
Listen, would you consider opening on Friday afternoon? Because there weren't any food pantries open in
Yeah.
Lowell on Fridays. And we would get calls at the food bank on Friday afternoon with people thinking that something was going to come through, maybe
Sure.
some payment or
Yeah.
a benefit, and it didn't. And they have kids to feed over the weekend.
It's tough.
And these are people that don't know the system of
Yep.
food pantry and food
Right, yeah,
bank,
yeah.
or they just are reaching out because they don't know what else to do.
Absolutely.
So now we have 2 food pantries open on Fridays
Yep.
in Lowell, which is great. And we also have a community market program that we operate in the summer.
Yep.
And that is at 3 Lowell Housing Authority properties. And we're actually going to expand to a 4th, the Francis Gatehouse Mill, which is
Nice,
right
yeah.
behind us
Sure, right.
on
Right,
Broadway
yep.
Street. And all of the people that live in these properties are eligible to get this food. They're all low income. And we want to make it easier for them to prepare meals that are healthy.
Right.
So we actually purchase produce from Drake Farmers
Yep.
and other partners throughout the region. And we set up a free farmers market at
That's
each of
nice.
those
Yep.
properties. So once a month, they are able to come and get the amount of food that's appropriate for their household size.
Right.
And we get different type of ethnic produce as well, so that people
It's
can make
important. Yeah,
recipes
right, from their home country,
with
sure.
which they're familiar. And we call it a community market because we want people to be able to get some socialization. One of the properties where we have a market is at the Bishop Markham
Yep, absolutely.
property, which is mostly seniors. And it's was so shocking to us to hear when we arranged this with the property manager, that they ask the residents to raise their shades every day when they get up so that they know that they're okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Right.
there's a level of isolation sometimes when people are living alone and are
Sure
elders,
is, yep.
and they have a blast. It's only once a month,
Yep.
but when we come in with the tables and set them up and give out the food,
Yeah.
they're sitting on the couches and they're interacting with one another
It's
and
nice, yeah, yeah.
and getting to meet volunteers that we engage to hand out that
Right, yeah.
food. And
The senior market's a challenge because we see it here in Drake. We know, I'm very confident, I don't know, but I'm very confident that there's a number of seniors who need our help. And no matter what we do, we can't get them to come because of pride.
right.
Yeah, and I'm like, but I know they're hungry. How do we get them food? You know, it just, it hurts sometimes to know that they're sitting there fighting what you just said. You know, well, I don't have enough money for my medicine. You know, I don't have enough money for food. So, you know, but I'm really glad that you guys are doing that, getting to that market, because it's a tough market.
It is, and we, again, try to bring food to people whenever possible because for
I love
one
that
reason or
idea,
another,
yeah.
they could have a challenge with
Right, yeah,
either transportation
Sure, yeah.
or maybe getting out of the apartment and going to a food pantry isn't something they'd ever dream of doing.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And
You
I
add
think
that level
you
of
can,
comfort.
right, I think you can agree that it's the last thing that anybody wants to do
Well, yeah, and
is
I
to
mean,
go to
you
a
could
food
be there,
pantry.
you know, at the Drake Food, you could be waiting up to 2 hours depending on when you arrive.
Right.
And you know that, you know, the stigma of I had to wait in line for 2 hours and stuff. So bringing it to them is definitely a solution. So cool. We got about a minute left, so let's
Okay.
quickly do Grape Expectations so I don't forget you.
Our 11th annual Grape Expectations fundraiser is coming up on May 5th from 6 to 9:30, and it's taking place at Lindsay's again this year. And I mentioned this is our 11th annual fundraiser. It's a wine tasting and silent auction, and it's one of the few fundraisers that we hold every year so that we can help continue these programs and expand them when necessary.
Yep.
The tickets are $60, and more information can be found on our website, which again is mvfb.org. Sponsorships are available, and also if anybody wants to donate an item to the silent auction, we'll take any kind of item, any value,
Yep.
and we'll either combine it with something
Sure,
to make
yep.
it a
Yeah,
package
makes a lot of
or,
things fit in
or a
together, yep.
standalone
Sure, yep.
item.
Right.
Gift certificates, sporting event tickets, movie passes, baskets, you know, either a
Sure.
margarita basket because it is on Cinco de Mayo
Right, yeah,
this
yeah,
year.
okay, yeah, so Cinco de
And
Mayo, yeah, good.
so hopefully people watching will be able
Yep.
to support it and or attend. And we had about 400 people attend
Wow, it's
last
amazing,
year.
Yep. And that's why I was going to say get your tickets early.
Yes.
Simple as that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.